So we're back. मैं ज्ञानम महाजन. Namaste, salam, sat sri akal. In this segment, within our grammar series on Hindi-Urdu, we will talk about postpositional phrases. So we have commented on how, unlike English, which has prepositional phrases, preposition phrases, in Hindi-Urdu, we get postpositions. So instead of on the table, we'll get table on, table par. Okay? And or a phrase like to the boy or to the girl will become ladke ko or ladki ko. Now, ladki ko, we just added the ko, which is to, but ladka plus ko became ladke ko, and that's one of the things we will talk about today in this portion when we talk about postpositional phrases. Let me start by mentioning that according to me, there are two different types of postpositions. Some are, category 1 are one word postpositions. For example, you have me, which means in. You have ko, which means to. You have se, which means it can mean different things. It can mean with, it can mean from. And you have par, which means on. You have ne, which means doer, marks an agent, marks a doer, someone doing something, that is ne. So you have these single word postpositions, and so you can say something like kitab mein, in the book. Okay, marry ko, to marry. This one you have to take an instrument. So for example, dande se. From, you can do marry se. Okay. Par, table par. And ne, marking a doer. For example, marry ne. Okay. There might be others. This is just an example of some of the postpositions that are one word, and they follow the noun, of course. Okay. There are a few other postpositions that are more than one word. Okay, and there are a full list of what I like to call K postpositions. Okay. What do I mean by that? These are things like K saath. Okay. के ऊपर, के बिना, के बारे में, even more than two words. Okay. के बारे में, के लिए, one of our most common postpositions are more than one word. के लिए, there's a long list, के आगे, के पीछे, के बगल में, etc. We really have a page-long list even at the first year level, right? So there are a number of these postpositions. What is common to both is, of course, that they follow the noun. So for example, marry के साथ means along with Mary. Okay, के ऊपर will be on top of. Notice that even in English, Many of these, see here, these you get one word prepositions, and even in English, there are often phrases like on top of or along with. This one is one word, without. Okay, के बारे में is about. Okay, के लिए is for. Okay? So, for example, table के ऊपर, okay, किताब के बिना पढ़ना मुश्किल है. किताब के बिना, without a book. Okay? It's tough to study without a book. So, किताब के बिना. Okay? John के बारे में, about John. Okay? John के लिए, for John. Okay? So there are two kinds, and some are one words. Of course, they follow the noun. So in a postpositional phrase, and let me write it a bit more clearly. In a postpositional phrase, the postposition is the last element, and it is preceded by a noun phrase. Okay. Why is this a noun phrase? Because instead of just table, you could say, lambi mez ke upar, on a long table, ya moti kitab ke bina. That means without a thick book, etc. Right? So you can put in adjectives or whatever, or you can put in a possessive phrase, whatever, before the noun. Therefore, we call it a noun phrase. And so a noun phrase followed by a postposition gives you a postpositional phrase. All right? Now, the next thing we want to talk about is what happens to the shape of the noun phrase when a postposition follows it. What do we mean by that? So the closest example in English will be with pronouns. So for example, the pronoun, let's say she, right? In English, you can say she works at UCLA, and you're getting she, right? What if I add a preposition before she? Like, for example, John will give a book to she. Well, something went wrong, right? You cannot say John will give a book to she. But why not? Why not, right? The pronoun for a feminine singular person identifying as feminine singular, well, the pronoun is she. And so it works in a sentence like she works at UCLA. However, the moment you have a preposition before the she, now this she is ungrammatical. Remember, asterisk means ungrammatical. What happens? It changes to her. So the sentence becomes, John will give a book to her. Okay? John will give this book to her. One could ask, why, right? What happened? And the answer is, well, it's because of this preposition, right, which is not here in sentence 1. Therefore, she remains she, but in sentence 2, it becomes her. Similarly, if you had the masculine identified pronoun he, you could say he works at UCLA. But similarly, if you said John will give a book to, you cannot say to he, it will become to him. So all we're trying to say is because of this preposition, it becomes him. Okay? Similarly, in Hindi-Urdu, we can, let's take any noun. So let's take something like, not just pronouns, okay? This property of changing the shape of the noun phrase. Anytime you have a noun phrase followed by any postposition, we call this oblique. It puts this postposition, puts this noun phrase into what's called oblique. This comes from standard terminology to do with oblique case. Some people call it prepositional or postpositional case. What is case? Case is the form a noun takes when it is influenced by its role, or in this case, by which role it is playing, and in this case, by the simple fact of whether it is followed by a postposition or not. Okay? And rephrasing that last phrase, if it is immediately followed by a postposition. So any time a noun phrase is immediately followed by a postposition, the whole noun phrase goes into oblique. Okay? What does oblique mean? I just mentioned oblique case. In the case of Hindi-Urdu, it simply means that it changes the shape of the words within a noun phrase. How does it change the shape? It kind of colors it and automatically changes the sound associated with the words within the noun phrase. And before we look at examples, here is the rule. Okay? What is the rule? So whenever a noun phrase is immediately followed by any postposition, all masculine singular nouns that end in a, it'll change to a. A will change to a. Okay? The second part of this rule is all plural obliques end in o. Okay? What do we mean by that? Whether it is masculine or feminine, all plural obliques will end in o. Okay? Now we'll give you some examples. Quick note on rule number 1, all masculine singular nouns that end in a will change to a. This means that if it is feminine and happens to end in a and is immediately followed by a postposition, no change. Okay? So for example, you have the word for wind or breeze, okay, which is hawa. Hawa is feminine, but it ends in a. Okay. If we follow it up with me, this will remain hawa mein. It does not become have mein. Okay? In fact, that's another clue that hawa is feminine. Okay? That it remains hawa mein. What is the second rule? The second rule is all plural obliques will end in o. So whether it's hawa, which is ending in whatever, it's masculine or feminine, doesn't matter, but the phrase will be हवाओं में, in the winds. Lots of songs, right? हवाओं पे लिख दो हवाओं के नाम, हम अनजान परदेसियों का सलाम. Right? Write in the winds, or write in the winds my salam, salam from strangers to the wind. Okay. Dedicated to the winds. हवाओं के नाम. Once again, हवाओं पे लिख दो हवाओं के नाम. Okay. Point to be noted is that the plural oblique, okay, ends in o. Okay. And you can take a masculine plural, my favorite, right, gadhon par, on the stupid people. Gadhon par rely mat karo, right? Don't rely on stupid people. Okay? Gadhon par, it'll end in o. Let us look a bit at the masculine singular, and let us look at a longer noun phrase. Okay. So in this portion, what we'll do is take some examples of singular nouns in a noun phrase and follow it up immediately by a postposition. So for example, the easiest one is ladka plus ko, and you can continue ladka plus ko, coffee pasand hai. So you can take those co-subject verbs, coffee pasand hai, and you can take something like ladki plus ko, same sentence, coffee pasand hai. Okay. Now, when our rule mentioned that if a masculine noun ends in a and is immediately followed by a postposition, the a changes to a.
Here's what I found.
Okay, and if you have feminine, there is no change. So phrase 1 or sentence 1 will become ladke ko coffee pasand hai, whereas sentence 2, the phrase ladki ko will remain ladki ko coffee pasand hai. Okay. Now we have mentioned that you can have a full noun phrase here. So you can have something like lamba, which means tall, and we have ladka, and this noun phrase is immediately followed by ko. And we said that ko will bring about obliqueness to everything under the noun phrase. It's not just the noun that goes into oblique, but the whole noun phrase. Therefore, and the rule is, even for adjectives, a will become a. So you will get lambe, ladke, ko. Numerals do not go into oblique. So if you have ek, it will not go into oblique. However, if you had something like vah, it does go into oblique, and the oblique of vah is us. The oblique of yah is is. Okay? So vah, lamba, ladka, ko becomes us, lambe, ladke, ko. Coffee pasand hai, coffee chahiye, coffee nahi peena chahiye, whatever. Okay? This part, the whole noun phrase goes into oblique. Now, if we added an adjective before ladki, like lambi, ladki. You know, does the whole noun phrase go into oblique because of ko? Yes. Yes, it is going into oblique. However, there's no change in shape because it's only a of the noun that becomes a, or the a of an adjective that becomes a, right? Either the noun a becomes a, or the adjective a becomes a. But yes, vah will become us. So you will get us lambi ladki ko. Okay. So this postposition still triggers oblique on the whole noun phrase. Okay. And we mentioned that if this was plural, you know, then you are getting if you start off with ladke as plural and then attach ko, you will get the plural rule applying and you will get ladkon ko coffee pasand hai, ladkon ko coffee chahiye. Okay. If there was a lambe over here, no other change in the shape of the adjective. So the adjective rule is a bit different from the noun oblique rule. In nouns, a becomes a for masculine singular, but all plural nouns will end in o, whereas in adjectives only a becomes a. So you'll get lambe, ladke, plus ko becoming lambe ladkon ko. Okay. And the feminine will be lambi ladkiyon ko. Now there are other related languages like Punjabi, which will say, I believe they use the plural on the adjective, lambiyan, ladkiyan, nu, or whatever, right? So they put plural on the adjective, we don't. Okay, we just have there's no obliqueness involved, or you can look at it this way, that all that's happening is a becomes a, but since adjectives do not encode anything further, it will remain lambe ladke ko, which will become lambe ladkon ko, because this changes its shape. Okay. One other very quick note is that if you have something like ladka, and then you have, if you're trying to say is in the room, okay, so you have ladka, and then you have kamra plus me, and you have hai. What I want to point out is this noun is immediately followed by a postposition, so it will become kamre mein hai. However, this ladka is not immediately followed by a postposition. This postposition mein is for this noun kamra, not for ladka. Therefore, ladka does not go into oblique. So it will remain ladka kamre mein hai, not ladke kamre mein hai. Why? Because this is a separate noun phrase. In fact, in English, it is separated by the verb. The boy is in the room, right? In Hindi-Urdu, we must realize that once you see a noun like ladka, remember nouns are the last element in a noun phrase, therefore you can put the end of the noun phrase bracket over there, the parenthesis, no bracket, square brackets, and there is no postposition to the right of it. Therefore you move on. You come to another noun, which is the last element of this noun phrase. Is it followed by a postposition? Yes. Now this whole noun phrase will go into oblique. So if you had an adjective before it, ladka kale kamre mein hai. Okay. Once again, also please appreciate the sound to grammar connection. The sound value goes through the sentence. So you'll get something like ladka lambe kamre mein hai. Okay? Obliqueness leads to matching of some sounds. All right. So there are other parts to this postpositional phrases and their nature, but right now we simply talked about the fact that it's a postpositional language. We talked about obliqueness, and I will end with an example taking a phrasal postposition. For example, let's do sentence 6. यह किताब उस लंबे लड़के के बारे में है. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you have a phrasal postposition, still obliqueness works the same way. Okay? So you'll have ya kitab, and this is the us is the oblique form of va, lambe is the oblique form of lamba, ladke is the oblique form of ladka, ke bare mein hai. Okay? And please remember that postpositions like ne are just similar, with similar effects on the preceding noun phrase as any other postposition. What does ne mean? Ne means doer, right? An agent. Okay? So for example, you will get, you can put in the us ladke ne kela khaya. Because of this ne, this phrase, the noun phrase preceding it goes into oblique, and you'll get vah becoming us, ladka becoming ladke because of this ne. Okay? And of course, nothing happens to kela because there is nothing to the right of kela. There's no postposition there. So, us ladke ne kela khaya. Wrapping up this segment, what did we do in this segment? We talked about the order of noun phrases followed by postpositions. We talked about the fact that postpositions could be one word or they could be more than one word. And we talked about how the obliqueness caused by the postposition that immediately follows a noun is the same regardless of whether it is one word or if it's a phrasal postposition more than one word. And we said that the two main rules are, if a noun phrase is immediately followed by a postposition, then the noun, the whole noun phrase goes into oblique. A noun that ends in, masculine noun that ends in a will become a, and we said that all plural obliques will end in o, and we said that adjectives that end in a will become a, and we said that the numerals do not go into oblique, and we said that vah becomes us and yah becomes is, ve will become in, ve will become un, and ye will become in. Okay, these are the oblique forms. Proper nouns usually do not go into oblique, and names in general do not go into oblique. Thank you.